borders. In those areas, the Turks lived for some time. Many were evicted in World War I, so the eviction of the Turks kept on. And Armenians in Azerbaijan also were evicted. So you started to get what is an exchange of populations. Once the Soviet Union broke down and the Karabakh War between the Turks and the Armenians started taking place, all the Turks of, I believe all, the Turks of the Yerevan province of the Armenian Republic were finally evicted from that area, and Armenians from Azerbaijan as well. So what started out as people who lived pretty much together and had lived together for hundreds of years, once the Russian invasion came in, it split the people up. The Armenians were on the side of the Russians. The Turks were on the side of the Iranians or themselves or the Ottoman Empire. Two sides came. Over the next 180 years, 170 years, the populations eventually became completely separate. For instance, it's probable that in the 1820s, Karabakh was a majority Muslim area as well. And the Armenians came into that area because they were sponsored by the Russians. So you see, it's a very long-standing problem. It's not just something that has gone on today. But I think, unfortunately, the days when people can live together like that in Armenia or Azerbaijan are completely gone. It is never going to happen again. I feel very sad for that. Just as I feel sad that the Ottoman policy of tolerance that lasted for hundreds of years was killed by the invaders who came from outside. But it is over. It's done. The Armenians and the Turks are never in the east. In Istanbul, Armenians and Turks live together just fine. But in Fuzuli, in Karabakh, it's done. It's sad because it means that a good thing, people living together, has been killed. But it has happened, so now we have to do the best with what we have. Yes?
Our time is up.
We've got two last questions.
All right. If you can answer them shortly. Mr. Halit Yıldız from Kazakhstan says, would you say that the Protestant missionaries and the British government were hands in glove with the missionaries in their campaign to break up the Ottoman Empire? Is this equation still valid today?
Actually, the question, as I mentioned to the gentleman when we spoke afterwards, I would not say hand in glove. The Protestant missionaries and the British had the same purpose. They were allies. They stayed together. Both of them wanted to see the Ottoman Empire defeated. Both of them wanted to see good things happen to Christians rather than to Muslims. But the Armenians, the British, had very political motives. They did not care nearly as much about religion and everything. They wanted to have a political victory. The missionaries were more concerned about, supporting the religion that they wanted. So they had somewhat different intentions. Today, they were allies, however. Today, I would say, in terms of the question was whether that is still going on today, quite the contrary. And I'm glad that I have an opportunity to say this, because while I said that we can't blame all the Armenians, I stress to you that the people who today are missionaries from these same groups are many times some of the finest people I have ever known. Some of the best friends of Turkey in the United States are people who have been Christian missionaries in Turkey. Now, they don't convert people anymore. They run hospitals. They run bookstores. They run schools. They do very good work. And these are people I have tremendous respect for. So, when I'm talking about what happened back then, when I'm talking about the past, I'm not talking about the people that are here today. The people that are here today are great friends of the Turks and should be respected because they speak Turkish, they live in Turkey, they understand the Turks. And this was not the way it was in the past. So please understand, when I'm talking about what happened in the past, I'm not talking about the people that are there today. So the answer to the question is no, it's not true anymore. And it also is not true anymore, I believe, that Britain wants to stand against Turkey. I believe that the British probably are more friendly to Turkish aspirations in the EU, for instance, than many other countries are. So that being the case, understand when we speak about history, we draw lessons of history, but we've got to understand that the old patriots can die, and thank God that they can die. And thank you for having me here.
If we can finish on this note, I think that will be much more interesting.
Right.
This is from Göksel Kortay from Karaköy Rotary. It says, this unjust persecution against Turkey is in itself a mental and intellectual and social genocide. Don't you think? What will you say about this? Thank you.
to take a couple of minutes to talk about the word genocide. Genocide has become an almost meaningless word. What people think of when they think genocide is what Hitler did to the Jews. When people think of genocide, they think of trying to kill every single member of a group, to kill them. However, the term genocide now has been used to describe what is being said here. If you try to hurt a people socially, psychologically, in all this way, this term is used to be called genocide. Well, I am satisfied saying that what people are doing to the Turks, the lies that are being told about Turks in history and sometimes Turks today, that these things are politically motivated, they're motivated by old hatreds that should be forgotten, they're motivated sometimes by prejudice, but I would not use the word genocide because I think that is a demean term. It's enough to say that they are very bad things. When I was a boy, I went to school with the Catholics, with the priests and the nuns. They would have called these things sins. Now, that's a funny usage, but when you think about it, a sin is something that is such a bad thing to do that it makes God very unhappy with you. Well, this is more like that. We don't even talk about genocide. You simply should not tell lies about people. Sometimes the most basic, true things are the things that apply. And as I said here, the Turks have a right to have the truth told about them. We don't have to use words like genocide. We can use it. I used it because there was that kind of genocide. People